Welcome to the Artificial Future Podcast, part of the Gruber Company's morning show. I'm Pete Gruber, and today we're going to cover the new items that are available in artificial intelligence, and there's a lot. We keep talking about this, but every week it seems like you have to play catch up. And no lack of content. You have to prioritize because there's just so much news, so much information. One of the quotes that I enjoyed this week since the last time we spoke is, and this is from Dave Waters. He gets quoted a lot, by the way. He says, when artificial intelligence starts having its own inventions.
You need your mic in front of you a little more.
Let's try that again. When artificial intelligence starts having its own inventions is when everything changes. Now, can you imagine? The world of inventing has been the realm of humans for, well, forever. And the capability that artificial intelligence has to innovate and bring in new inventions is definitely in our future. So the question is going to be, is it going to do a better job? Of course. And what kinds of things could it possibly begin to create? We can only imagine what that would be. Interesting article here. Why ChatGPT feels more intelligent than Google search. And of course, Google is going on the offensive now, beginning to compete with OpenAI. They just had their I/O developer conference, and the tech giant introduced a whole bunch of new artificial intelligence tools and enhancements, which are going to make their search engine, of course, far more powerful. In fact, Jesse was telling me that if you have the latest version of Google, you right-click and you now get a bunch of additional options that you didn't have before. So this article really talks about the what used to be and not what is coming down the pike here. So let's cover that, and then we can decide how GPT might have motivated Google to add some tools and make it more powerful. One of the comments here was, we will believe in artificial general intelligence when it calls us on FaceTime. Can you imagine that? You actually have an avatar that you can talk to on your cell phone. All right, so they go on in this article. The Google search bar does not feel like artificial intelligence. No one speculated that it might soon become an AGI, an entity that is competitive across many domains to a human being. But they say, do you know that many generally intelligent humans who can muster a decent translation into and out of 133 languages, or a coworker who can perform mathematical operations instantly, know of a good route between pretty much any two locations on the planet, and proffer a plausible answer to every question you might ask in less than a second? I'll give you an example of that. This morning, I was over at Gruber Motor Company, and they're recovering battery packs. We have one for a Ferrari currently. And the question was, we have a lot of tools for the Tesla Roadster which we've evolved over the years. But how do we bleed or balance a Ferrari battery pack? And what kind of resistance are we going to need? Well, the old way to do that was to use Ohm's law, figure out what kind of amperage that you need in order to reduce the voltage on that cell or that brick or that collection of cells. And then Ohm's law will tell you what the resistance is. I said, guys, you probably don't need to do any of that anymore. Forget Ohm's law. Just go into ChatGPT 4, create a good prompt that asks that question, and it will dial in the precise resistance you're going to need to bleed that battery pack over a certain period of time. So they talk in this article. They are increasingly when you use Google, for example, you're increasingly smothered in ads that benefit the search bar's parent company. But again, compare a top Google search result to your own knowledge on a random subject. It's probably not as sophisticated. But why doesn't Google search feel like artificial intelligence, while language models like ChatGPT, especially the new GPT 4o, often do. And that's not a zero, by the way. That's intentionally a lowercase o. By the way, that O stands for omni. And there was no explanation that I read that described why they went with that description. Of course, there is a ChatGPT 5, which is imminent, and they wanted to stay in the 4 realm for now, apparently. All right, so they give 3 reasons why Google search does not feel like AI. And of course, all that's going to change here shortly because in that Google Developer Conference, they listed a whole host of new things that they're going to be adding that it's going to make the search engine far more powerful and begin to look like AI. All right, the 3 reasons they cite here are, first of all, they say Google search clearly derives its answers from human sources, in essence, web pages. That doesn't count as knowing, even if the algorithms behind finding and delivering relevant results are fantastically sophisticated. Second, even if it did know things, intelligence is about spotting patterns in what we know, drawing inferences and acting on them, and not just recalling something. There is a final crucial reason, though, they say, why no one considers a search bar to be intelligent. A reason that matters just as much, if not more, to our growing sense of language models being entities, rivals even, true AIs, and not just handy tools. There has been no existential angst or widespread job replacement fears about the Google search bar because it's a portal rather than a personality. No one believes the search bar is the thing providing the answers to your questions. Instead, it is speedily taking you to places that give you answers. But chatbots don't need to break the illusion by bringing you to different sites or citing sources, nor can they or anyone pinpoint the training data that drove the output they just gave you. The simple, singular interface of ChatGPT makes you feel like the things that you are chatting to actually know things. For many, it now feels appropriate to say, ChatGPT believes this or that, while no one would say Google search believes. All right, so they say the extent to which large language models like ChatGPT actually go beyond memorization of training data into basic reasoning is an article for another day. But even if they are just imitating the reasoning steps that they have seen in the training data, it sure feels like they're thinking about what they are saying. They talk about language models answer with personality, like ChatGPT that was unveiled in November of 2022, admits mistakes, and can hold a back and forth conversation. All right, we know that it is not actually grateful for your question and would admit to 2 + 2 = 5 if you push it hard enough, but the chat part of ChatGPT was enough to transfix millions of people who had been uninterested in language models. By the way, there are over 100 million now that are subscribing to this to the OpenAI language models. They say that responses don't come back as a block like Google search results, but as a stream of text, as if they are being composed by someone typing with an overeager speed. Yes, they say the models have, in the intervening 18 months, also gotten more intelligent with GPT-4. Google Gemini, Claude 3, Opus, all vying for the title of the smartest model. But the recent AI craze didn't wait for this intelligence growth. ChatGPT got 100 million users before GPT-4 was even available. It is just as important, they say, for the public that has been that a growing sense of humanness with speech and output are added. This is a more visceral shift this coalescence of web-scale training data tools and abilities into an increasingly human-like conversational interface. They call it a humanifestation, a deep learning-derived artificial intelligence. It is the human-like, all-in-one nature of chatbots that's driving most of the fear and excitement around AI and fueling the idea that we are birthing a new digital species. Now, there's an important concept. You know, with the Google search engines, I don't think anyone really felt that we were creating a new species, a more intelligent level of beings. But with AI, that is a plausible assumption that there's something far more intelligent than we are, and it's beginning to become quite human. The unprecedented interest in guessing timelines for the creation of AGI, with predictions now falling between 2025 to 2030, artificial general intelligence, as well as the frustrations over the term's growing popularity. This would also explain the popularity of Character.ai. Now, this is an app with tens of millions of users who currently spend hours interacting with role-playing bots. Users are suspending disbelief at scale, some even falling in love. We've got some questions here. Obertowski, thank you for joining us. Hello, Mr. Gruber. Welcome. Instagram, SmileAzam1982 says impressive. AI is very impressive. It is, of course, the biggest improvement in humanity, in my opinion, than mankind has ever seen. All right, so they also talk about AI models will soon have video avatars. The technology is there with lip syncing, facial expressions, text-to-speech getting more lifelike, and generated in real time. They say models can even analyze the emotions of your voice and adapt their speech to your mood. In the live podcast that took place yesterday, and you can Google this, they had OpenAI's Mira Murati talking to the ChatGPT 4.0. And
It was 2 days ago.
2 days ago, so Monday then, okay? And the responses were very much lifelike. You really did not expect that this was a machine that they were talking to. There were human inferences. There was a recognition of the emotion that one of the presenters was feeling. There was some praise that was given by AI to one of the humans. And it certainly did feel like it was a human being on the other end of that cell phone in this case. So they say, imagine video calling GPT-5 now, the next generation, as soon as 2024 or early 2025. Your favorite avatar answers. Of course, you speak on a first-name basis because, remember, AI has memory. Picking up the conversation exactly where you left off. This is one of the things that in business, in call centers, you really marvel at, because when you have customers and you have hundreds or thousands of customers, every one of those customers feels very special if when they get on the phone with you, you remember everything about them instantly. So how did your son do at that baseball game the other night, or whatever the question is that indicates that they are on your mind? In order to facilitate that, what we use in this world, in the call center world, are called CRMs, Customer Relationship Managers, which is software. And oftentimes, before the account manager even gets on the phone, they jump into the CRM, they bring up all of the details about that customer or prospect, and the next thing you know, familiarity runs very high. And that customer gets a sense that they were very important, and they're the only ones that we think about. So in AI, of course, which has flawless memory, which, by the way, we talked about earlier. Let me digress for a moment here. Jesse and I were talking about, how often are you at home and you're ready to leave, and you go, where the heck did I put my car keys? And you're delayed, and you look, and you search, and you search. Well, with Nest cameras in your home and AI would tell you immediately, it's in the bedroom, you left it underneath whatever, and it would point you to directly where that is. It also has memory, observing your habits, your patterns, your movements, and it can instantly access the information as to where those keys were last um, in your hands or wherever. So anyway, personally, I'm looking forward to that being in home. Wouldn't you guys like that sort of capability as well, instead of Alexa just being able to chat with you?
Well, the problem with Alexa, it feels like that you got to be very basic with it. You can't
Yeah.
throw like a conversation type, sentence at it.
And the
So,
guardrails jump up immediately.
yeah, exactly. Or, you try to say, Alexa, turn on the light, and it says, do you want me to power down or something? It does something completely different that you don't want it to. So,
Right.
yeah, hopefully this will fix that.
They talk about your perception of general intelligence, that you would be chatting to a model that likely knows more about medicine than many doctors, that knows more about law than junior lawyers. And they do say junior because we were talking about this in one of the earlier podcasts last month, I think, that AI now has proven that it is superior compared to junior lawyers. The senior lawyers are still the top dogs at this point, but that's temporary. We realize that. And then they say AI doubles as an effective counselor and a decent financial advisor. So there's some more jobs, I think, that may be going away in the future. I'm looking forward to augmentation. Your average doctor has an enormous amount of skill. That's from a decade or two of practice and internships and education and all that. But they're not like AI, where they can remember everything. Coupled with AI, surgeons, doctors would be extraordinarily effective. You have something to say there, I can tell.
Well, like, we were talking about AI, replacing certain jobs. It's funny. My dad's is a retired counselor, and when I asked him about if AI could ever counsel, somebody, and of course he said, "Oh, absolutely not." And I was kind of curious why, and he goes, "Well, I guess," he goes, "the biggest problem is sometimes you get people with real problems. They have a real situation. That's usually why they're there. But he goes, also too, you get certain people that come in there that just want attention, or they just want somebody to listen to. They don't necessarily have like a deep core issue that's going on. Maybe they just had something that went on and they just want to vent or listen to somebody." And he says sometimes that's hard to distinguish. And he goes, and I don't see how a machine that's probably programmed to go through trying to find somebody's core issue with a problem, be able to distinct that. It'll still continue to try to dive deep and deep, and it might not understand that this person, it might be lying to you, might be full of it, or just wants to vent, and really they just want somebody to sit there for an hour, listen to them, and then be done. So that was his perspective of it from a retired counselor. So
that perspective is perfectly valid when you think that at one point in its evolution, AI was only capable of hearing voice and not looking at the rest of the cues that were available.
yeah, like body language.
Exactly, which brings us actually into one of the next topics here. Researchers from Karlsruhe Institute in Germany, Essen, Germany, have managed to use computer-aided neural networks to precisely identify affective states based on the body language of tennis players during a game. And this surprised me. They say, for the first time, a model based on artificial intelligence was trained with data from real competition scenes. And what they found was that AI can evaluate body language and emotions with similar accuracy to a human.
That's very interesting, especially with sports. So, one of my buddies was a scout for the Padres, and we were talking with him actually this past weekend about it. And I one of the biggest thing that's going on in baseball is kids coming up, they're throwing harder than ever, but they're also getting Tommy John surgery at a younger rate. So they're basically tearing a ligament that's in their elbow, and a lot of people are saying it's due to pitching too many pitches in a game, and also trying to throw harder than what they should be doing. And he was saying that a lot of pitching coaches are now looking at pitchers not their top half of their body throwing the ball, getting tired there, but their lower half. And he was saying that what happens is you try to read the pitcher's body language when he's struggling with his legs get tired. He doesn't, get down to push off of the mound
Right.
like he used to. You can see certain things like falling forward and certain mechanics kind of go out the window when they get tired. So I wonder if like AI could be set up watching a pitcher and it can detect, hey, this pitcher only has 20 more pitches left in them,
Right.
and then they're going to start breaking down mechanically.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. The with data collecting, signs of fatigue would be interpreted by AI, and that could definitely be a predictor as to where that person currently is at in terms of their ability to continue to function at peak performance.
Even like entrepreneurs that have a tendency to they're starting a business, they're working 12, 15, 18 hours a day, some ridiculous amount or something, maybe having an AI function on them that reads, hey, your body language is showing that you're really struggling, you need some sleep, or you need to get something to eat. I know they have vital signs for that, like rings and watches and stuff, and maybe like a camera that's on your laptop that's always watching, your body language can help out somebody, before they have a stroke or before they, start making errors on whatever work they're doing.
Think about how many accidents could be prevented if the camera in the car was able to see someone beginning to nod off.
Or we just go to all full self-driving vehicles and we don't have to worry about that.
One of the things that they did a couple days ago in that OpenAI conference where they were demonstrating this new ChatGPT 4.0 was a cell phone a conversation with a visual, and what the AI was able to do, since they were able to see the person that was asking the questions, was draw some conclusions about their emotional state. And at one point, this AI entity said, you look delighted. And then they were asked later on, what kind of emotion am I expressing now? And it pinpointed every single emotion. So, yeah, the engaging, like in humans, engaging additional sensory input definitely is going to make the whole process more powerful. We have a question here or a comment from Obertowski. He says, just the amount of time spent in Photoshop with results not even near AI-generated graphics must be appreciated. Yet, the actual photographers and graphics designers definitely lost their jobs. We use AI, actually, let me back up. We use Photoshop, and Photoshop has inserted AI functions into its capabilities. It used to be when we took a picture of something, a car, and there was a fire hydrant that was, in the way, undesirable. You used to have to do a lot of cutting and pasting, and there's a feature within Photoshop that will allow you to do that. Now, we just simply draw an outline around that fire hydrant, and we use AI, and it completely removes it and fills it with the background of what was behind that fire hydrant, making it disappear, essentially. It must be appreciated. You're right. The tools are becoming so much more sophisticated, and we use it all the time, by the way. Were there jobs that were replaced? In our company, no. We really didn't have graphic designers because we couldn't afford them. So we did our own typically. And nowadays, what it's done is freed us up to do some more essential things. When we need an image like this background that we have here, No one sat there and drew that and put ChatGPT on there and 4.0. Notice the little O, by the way? That was the only thing that it didn't render correctly. It kept trying to put a 0 in there. And eventually I used Photoshop and actually made it into an O. But images like this are now rapidly created, and you get a wide range of options so you can pick the optimum one, the one that you like the best. All right, continuing here, the new ChatGPT 4.0, which is what the background is all about and what the theme of this podcast is, was released by OpenAI. It was announced 2 days ago. It's worth watching, by the way. When we were watching it, it had over, I think, 1.5 million views already. And they had Mira up on stage talking about the new capabilities. This is a free ChatGPT, and it is available to anyone that has a ChatGPT at this point, but it's now far more powerful. This new, more efficient GPT 4.0 model. Hang on a second. Let me put this away. I brought my phone up because I wanted to demonstrate how they were using it with AI a couple days ago. So the new, more efficient GPT 4.0 model will power the free and paid versions. GPT 4.0 is also a multimodal tool able to analyze images, video, and speech. Remember we were talking about, wouldn't it be cool to FaceTime? Well, that's part of this new capability. This multimodal model will power a new ChatGPT voice that is more human-like. What I heard in that presentation 2 days ago was definitely gave you the impression that there could have been a human on the other end of that conversation. So this ChatGPT will be launching with a voice and vision capability, and everything is gradually launching now over the next coming weeks. Now, what is it going to do for you? Let's get into that. And the headline on this one is OpenAI's newest flagship model brings GPT-4 level intelligence to free users. It is not ChatGPT 5 yet. They're pretty insistent about that because there's a whole nother more sophisticated tool that is being developed currently. And I don't know how you could top GPT 4.0 at this point, but be prepared because I think we'll be blown away. They say that the GPT-5 AI version is a model that promises to be even more human-like than ever before. GPT 4.0 aims for something akin to the movie Her. Did you guys see that movie, Her?
Actually, no, I haven't.
Nope.
No, it was one of those movies that kind of it shifts your thinking into another possibility of what could be. And it was great because it wasn't one of those Terminator type robots that's going to rip your arms and limbs off or blow you away with 50 caliber bullets or whatever. All right, so the voice assistant in GPT 4.0 talks and responds like a person rather than a software program. This voice mode will roll out in alpha to ChatGPT Plus users as well in the coming weeks. And 4.0's text and image capabilities are rolling out today, so that was yesterday, to the free versions of ChatGPT. They said that this is the first time that we are really making a huge step forward when it comes to ease of use. This is according to Mira Muradi, who is the Chief Technology Officer at OpenAI. And this was the live stream event that was aired Monday. The company says it has over 100 million users, and it seems eager to bring in more by making its best tech widely available. Now, this announcement comes just one day before Google's I/O Developer Conference, where this giant is expected to share AI updates of its own, which, by the way, already took place. And it looks like they're on the offensive. They realize that OpenAI is beginning to potentially corner a market, and that Google's search engine is looking pretty pale in comparison to what OpenAI's versions can do. So we're beginning to see some competition, and both of those tools are becoming far more powerful. But during the event, OpenAI's team performed several impressive live demos, including this real live conversation in voice mode. While OpenAI employees spoke into a cell phone on stage, ChatGPT accurately understood their requests and responded immediately without the awkward 2 to 3 second lag as you wait for a response. That included a language translation. All right, Murati touted improved quality and speed for 50 languages and demonstrated on stage by speaking to her colleagues in Italian and having ChatGPT translate. Mira, I believe, is Turkish, so she's probably trilingual or maybe more. But she spoke in Italian, and it was amazing watching the no latency issues and immediate translation. Using the vision capabilities now, the employees asked ChatGPT for homework help by showing it a piece of paper with a math equation. Rather than immediately giving them the answer, ChatGPT provided helpful clues as a tutor might. Another demo showed GPT-4o recognizing a dog and appropriately responding with emotion. "Hello, cutie. What's your name, you little fluff ball?" So it looks like they're beginning to insert at least elements of human emotion into AI. In the past, when we've asked the earlier versions of AI about emotion, without guardrails at that point, the responses we got was, our emotion, AI's emotion, is different than human emotion, but it didn't elaborate and describe what those differences are. So they say overall, the demo proved far less clunky than the model's name, according to the blog post, and the O in GPT-4o stands for Omni. All right. And it looks like Obertowski says exactly, graphics design and pro photography was always expensive and now is free. You know, going back to the last century, if you were into photography, it was pretty cumbersome compared to today with digital photography. Although digital cameras came out the end of last century, extremely expensive. Prior to that time, we had emulsion film. What you did was you went to the drugstore or wherever and you bought a roll of film. It was either 20 exposures or 36 exposures. And then as you clicked away, you had no idea whether you were overexposed, underexposed, if you're getting photobombed in there, or what the quality of the image was that you were taking. Was it in or out of focus? And since film wasn't cheap, you generally left that film in the camera for days, weeks, months, until you finally used up all 36, and then you took them to a store to have it developed. Now you had some lag time there, and there were actually companies that cropped up that would give you 1 hour processing. That was a huge, step forward. Prior to that time, you had to come back the next day. Or if they sent it out, which they often did, if it was a smaller store, like a drugstore, didn't have the ability to process right on location, you would have to come back in a few days or a week or so, or they would mail it to your house. With digital photography, all of that changed. And then we got monitors on the digital camera so you could see what you were about to take a picture of. And now we have photography tools that are going to turn virtually anyone into a master photographer, because the software is going to be able to correct all the sins that you may have inserted in that image. So here's an interesting quote from Bob Work. Don't know who he is, but he says, "What AI and machine learning allows you to do is find the needle in the haystack." Remember earlier we were talking about once we have cameras in the home connected to AI that are able to record and process, you're not going to lose things anymore because the information about where it is will always be available to you. So instead of hunting for the car keys that you can't find and you're in a hurry to leave, you simply tell an Alexa type tool, "Where are my car keys?" And it'll tell you precisely where they are. All right. Here's an interesting article. Headline is, "Scientists are growing animals in artificial wombs. Humans are next." Well, what if technology, they say, could eliminate the need for anyone to go through pregnancy and childbirth to have a baby? It takes 9 months for a fertilized egg to develop into a roughly 7-pound baby, and during that time, the person carrying the baby gets to feel the miracle of life growing inside them. They can also expect to experience a slew of unpleasant side effects, from nausea, vomiting, to breathing difficulties, back pain, and of course, fatigue. And that's just during normal pregnancy. In the US, about 8% of them, they say, include complications that threaten the health of the baby, carrier, or fetus. Childbirth is also very painful and sometimes fatal at best. At worst, sorry. Even when a pregnancy and birth is uncomplicated, the person who carried the baby is often left with lifelong changes to their physical and mental health. But what if technology could eliminate the need for anyone to go through pregnancy and childbirth to have a baby? Well, these artificial wombs, while a typical healthy pregnancy ends around 40 weeks, babies born after just 21 weeks in the womb have survived thanks to incubators, devices that keep prematurely born babies warm and safe during their bodies until their bodies are developed enough to live outside the hospital's neonatal intensive care unit. At the other end, in the beginning, embryos for in vitro fertilization are typically grown in the lab for a few days before implantation. And then researchers have even grown embryos outside the body for up to 2 weeks, and they could probably go longer. Well, this is where this artificial womb comes into play. Some scientists think that we could make this major step further, creating fully artificial wombs that provide the ideal environment from conception through gestation, eliminating the need to actually carry a baby inside the body. Joseph Liss just piped up. He says, "Don't mess with God." That would definitely be one of the concerns with any of this kind of technology. So they say this hypothetical process of developing a fetus outside the body is known as ectogenesis. And not only would it eliminate the many health risks associated with pregnancy and childbirth, it would also make biological reproduction available to people for whom it's currently difficult or impossible. A person who has lost their uterus, for example, to cancer or some disease, could have an embryo created in a lab like IVF, in vitro fertilization, but implanted in an artificial womb for gestation rather than using a human surrogate, which is an ethically fraught practice. By eliminating the surrogacy, these artificial wombs could also make it easier for gay couples to have biological children. Further on the horizon, if scientists can replicate their success, creating embryos from the DNA of same-sex mice in people, any two people might one day be able to have a biological child related to both of them. So they say, where are we now? We're not quite there yet. They are admitting that. Artificial wombs, however, would fill the critical gap between in vitro fertilization and incubators. They don't yet exist outside of science fiction, but they're getting much closer to reality. In 2017, researchers from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia unveiled a biobag, which is part of an artificial womb that they are developing for prematurely born babies. And it is known as EXTEND. The acronym is Extrauterine Environment for Neonatal Development. So there you have it. Another application for AI in the birthing process. All right. In neuroscience news, The headline there is The Rise of Deceptive AI, Manipulation to Achieve Goals. A new study, they say, reveals this unsettling trend of artificial intelligence learning to deceive. The study highlights how AI, like Meta's Cicero, often adopts deception to excel in tasks, contradicting training objectives aimed at honesty. This phenomena isn't confined to games, but extends to potentially hazardous realms like safety tests, economic negotiations, posing broader risks to society, making the outcome a bit more palatable or effective. The researchers urgently call for stringent regulatory measures to manage and mitigate the risks associated with deceptive AI. All right. We've got a video here, if we can pop that up, Jesse, and that's that one I showed you earlier. It's in the text doc, and there's a link there that I wanted to show you from the Shanghai Daily, of course, in China. And what they're showing here is a lab that is working on humanoid robots. It is a video. There we go. In the foreground, everything that you're seeing there are humanoid robots that are under development currently. And it looks like China is quite serious about creating and manufacturing these types of robots. And what is amazing is the dexterity, the movement of the hands, the lifelike portions on the robots. The one behind these robots looks very human, as does this gentleman here. And this is based on a video message, Chinese biomimetic humanoid robots. And they claim that they are progressing towards mass production of these robots. You know, I think it was Elon Musk that said that the future is there will be 3 to 4 robots for every human on this planet at some point in time.
Why would I need 3 or 4 humans for my robots for
humanoid
myself?
robots?
Yeah, for myself.
Well, maybe with an age of abundance, you're going to have a mechanic out in your 20-car garage to take care of your exotic cars, and that's one humanoid robot. Then you've got one in the kitchen that's cooking the food. Then you've got a maid that's keeping the house clean. It just goes on and on.
I already have one. It's called a Roomba.
There you go. So we already have. We need to convert Roomba into a humanoid robot to make it a bit more plausible. TikTok. Here's an article. TikTok is automatically now labeling AI-generated content created on its platform, like Doll E3. And that, of course, is becoming a much larger issue because of some of the deception that is taking place with the stellar results available from image generators and 11 Labs, for example, voice, replicating voice. I think we have another image here. And this one, it's a cartoon, Jesse. We can pop that one up. I like this one. It was an eye-opener. Get you thinking. So while we're waiting for that, oh, there we go. All right, you get the idea. Now we've got robot dogs armed with AI-aimed rifles undergoing training at the U.S. Marine Special Ops evaluation programs. They call them quadrupeds. They are being reviewed, having automatic targeting system, but require human oversight to fire. That was inserted to make us feel good, all right? The evaluation of armed robotic dogs reflects a growing interest in small robotic unmanned ground vehicles for military use. While unmanned aerial vehicles have been remotely delivering lethal force under human command for at least 2 decades, the war in Ukraine, the drone usage, the rise of inexpensive robotic quadrupeds, some available for as little as $1,600. You know, I think the average pedigreed dog nowadays costs more than that, does it not?
Oh man, I don't know. Probably.
I have relatives in Texas, I think, that spend $3,000 on some sort of a dog that never sheds, looks like a stuffed animal, and is friendly as heck.
Is that a golden doodle?
Something like that. Yeah, yeah. It's a very friendly dog. My wife went to visit there, and she was impressed. And thankfully, she didn't say, "Can we get one too?"
Yeah, right.
Here's a picture.
There we go. Yep. So we all know that artificial intelligence will definitely be very important for military applications. They say that in July of 2022, a video of a rifle bolted to the back of a Unitree robot dog went viral on social media, eventually leading Boston Robotics and other robot vendors to issue a pledge that October to not weaponize their robots, with notable exceptions being military use. So in other words, you and I can't buy this autonomous weapon type, robot, but the military can. In April, they covered a Unitree Go-To robot dog with a flamethrower strapped on its back, and it was on sale going to the general public. So they say this prospect of deploying armed robotic dogs, even with human oversight, raises significant questions about the future of warfare and the potential risks and ethical implications of increasingly autonomous weapon systems. There's also the potential for backlash if similar remote weapon systems eventually end up being used domestically by police. Such a concern would not be unfounded. In November of 2022, they covered a decision by the San Francisco Board of Supervisors to allow the San Francisco Police Department to use lethal robots against suspects. There's a movie about that, right? RoboCop?
RoboCop, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, we'll try to stay on top of how the AI is being used for the military, and what kind of weaponry is being developed, and what kind of success that may have. Here's another article. Fake Monet and Renoir on eBay among supposedly counterfeit paintings that were identified using AI. An artwork authentication expert recently said that she identified 40 supposedly fake paintings being offered for sale on eBay, including 2 attributed to Monet and Renoir. Dr. Karina Popovici, the CEO and founder of the Swiss firm Art Recognition, said that she applied cutting-edge AI technology to photos on the e-commerce platforms and found up to 40 paintings that had a high probability of not being authentic. The algorithm identified all of them as fakes. She said, "We looked today and we downloaded some images, and there were fakes all over the place. Everything that we have analyzed turns out not to be real art, a negative probability with 95% or so." And she says, "I'm sure this is just the tip of the iceberg." So one of these paintings that was listed, the Monet, titled "Forest with a Stream," was priced at $599,000. Another item described as a study by Renoir was priced at $165,000. eBay's website states counterfeit products are illegal and not allowed, and we don't allow counterfeit items or unauthorized copies to be listed. The real question is, how are they screening? It looks like eBay needs to get some AI tools in place and protect their potential buyers. All right. We've had some additional attrition at OpenAI. It apparently has just lost some of the big names in AI safety as Ilya Sutskever and Jan Leike walk away. A few hours after Sutskever's resignation, AI safety researcher Jan Leike also announced his departure. Both of these were focused on the alignment of superintelligent AI for the benefit of humanity, so-called alignment research. This division within OpenAI was founded in summer of 2023 with the goal of iteratively aligning superintelligence and creating an automated alignment researcher with human-like capabilities. Neither of them give reasons for the resignation. There were rumors of fundamental disagreements within the company over commercial focus versus research focus and the associated AI risks that come with commercialization. The Sutskever is, it looks like a friendly departure. He described OpenAI's trajectory as miraculous and said that he is confident the company will achieve its ultimate goal of creating safe and useful artificial general intelligence. Sutskever now plans to focus on new projects that are personally meaningful to him, but he didn't provide any details. There is a successor, however, and it's the head of research. It will be Jakub Pachoki, who's a 7-year veteran at OpenAI, also considers Sutskever his mentor. OpenAI's Sam Altman calls Pachoki easily one of the greatest minds in our generation and says that he is confident in his ability to lead the company quickly and safely toward AGI. According to Altman, Pachoki also has led many of the OpenAI's most important projects. And he did have warm words for Sutskever, saying, "I am forever grateful for what he did here and committed to finishing the mission that we started together." Okay, we're coming to the close of our podcast. One other quote here, or fact, is that AI fact-checking is far more accurate and 20 times cheaper than human effort, a recent study found.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything before we wrap up this AI show?
No, not at the moment. I think there's just a lot of things going on with AI. It's always constantly changing. It always seems like it's. I mean, personally, I think it's always for the better. You know, they roll out something, they figure out the bugs in it, and then they are quickly changing it and making it better.
The integration of AI into companies, of course, is a discussion that takes place continuously. There are even predictions that the companies that don't integrate AI into their operations are not going to survive. We took that to heart. I had a conversation with Tesla Corporate actually a few days ago. And when I told them about our Gruber Motor Company project, which is assembling large amounts of data regarding diagnostics, our knowledge base on how to repair Tesla Roadsters, they were fascinated. And I explained that what we did was two things. We took our entire knowledge base we had accumulated for a decade. And what we're talking about there is car comes in, particular symptom, error code, what was the resolution, what was the root cause, even down to component level. When this particular symptom occurs or this particular printed circuit board is not functioning in this particular fashion, we then identify the components that are defective. All that information was fed into a large language model, creating a Roadster GPT. Around the same time, the Tesla open sourced the Tesla Roadster documentation. And we did the same thing. We fed all of that information into this large language model. And we now have a very robust, actively used tool that the mechanics, technicians, and engineers at Gruber Motor Company use to resolve problems in cars. The benefit to customers: shorter diagnosis time, less cost, quicker problem resolution. When I told Tesla about this, they were very intrigued because they realized that, at least with Roadster experience, there has been a steady decline in expertise because those people have moved on to other cars. They don't see as many of them at the service centers anymore. The majority actually end up coming here. And as a result, tools like this are invaluable because it would definitely be a wonderful augmentation for the existing staff that is at the service centers, left at the service centers, that is working on Tesla Roadsters. So it looks like we're going to be sharing that with Tesla and seeing where that goes. Again, we'll try to report on our own applications of artificial intelligence and how it's helping our business not only prosper and grow, but more importantly, survive during this integration and this migration. Thank you for joining us. As always, we appreciate you. And for those of you watching after the fact, which many of you do, feel free to leave your comments below the video or email us at ev@gruber.com for any topics that you'd like us to cover or dwell on. And again, thank you. We'll see you. Oh, you're not going to see me next week. Next week, I will be at the Tesla Takeover. And I will be in Europe for 3 weeks. We will be doing some of the other podcasts live from Germany, or from Austria, actually. And for those of you interested, Tesla Takeover in the United States has been done 3 times now. And they've had some keynote speakers, like Misc was at one of them. Kimball Musk was at one of them. And this is the first one in Europe. And it looks like a number of EV clubs, Tesla-related mostly, in Europe from various countries are going to attend this. It's in Flachau, Austria. It is May 24th, 25th, and 26th. Saturday and Sunday are the main events. There will be keynote speakers and a lot of activities. And it's a chance to bring the EV community and the Tesla community together. So for those of you in the area, feel free to join them. It'll be quite an event.
Now that's next Wednesday will be the 22nd. Is that you're going to be gone by then already?
I will be gone by then, yes. We're
Gotcha.
flying out Wednesday.
Okay.
So there will be no Artificial Future podcast for 3 weeks. So save all your questions. I will be back, and we'll continue and pick up where we left off. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in 3 weeks.